Welcome to the Dental Marketing Guy Show. I'm the Dental Marketing Guy, and today we have an amazing amount of value to offer. Right now, Spencer Peller, he is the founder of YesTrack.com, an amazing company that's doing amazing things for your practice. If you haven't heard of this yet, get on board because there is a thief in your dental practice, and it's called voicemail. How are you doing, Mr. Peller?
Doing fantastic. Thanks, Justin. Yeah, that was a great way to put it. A thief. I love that. Very well said.
It really is. I mean, maybe you can tell us a little bit about, the history of YesTrack and,
Sure.
kind of the biggest problems that dental practices face in answering inbound calls and how that bred YesTrack.com.
Yeah, so that's an interesting story. We started a company called MyDoctorCalls.com in 2011, and really that was a call tracking and call recording company where we would provide numbers, as you know, in marketing, and people would use those numbers in their different ad vehicles and then record the calls to see how the staff sounded, that kind of thing. So it was a training tool and an ad tracking tool. And as we launched the business, it was so interesting to have these doctors call us and say, wow, I'm listening to these phone calls, and every time the voicemail comes on, people are hanging up the phone. What do I do about this voicemail situation, right? So at the time, super focused on monitor calls, I said, you know what, being the smart business guy that I am or am not, I'm going to go find a answering service to partner with, and I'm going to go refer business to an answering service, right? So I can offer this solution to our clients. And so as I went out there, I was amazed at how antiquated these answering services were. They got started in the 70s when, doctors needed to be paged at 3 in the morning to go to a hospital, and they haven't evolved much since. So I really had a hard time referring business to anyone. So that was kind of the genesis of saying, hey, I better launch something, because this is the real opportunity of being able to go out and actually answer the phone for people. Because the biggest complaints I got from doctors' offices were, number one, they were losing business because of voicemail. Number two, their staffs were super swamped, right? As you know, you go to a doctor's office, the staff members, checking people out and is, managing a schedule and filing stuff away, and then turning around and answering a phone. And on the phone line is a $5,000 call from a patient, and they're put on hold, or they're just, they just don't have the time to really focus on the call, right? So voicemail and staff that was super swamped kind of said, hey, they'd love a good outsourced solution if we could provide it. So YesTrack became that solution that we could offer those practices to kind of help them with this, as you said, this thief that's stealing their revenues from them.
Yeah, maybe you can tell our listeners, why is voicemail a thief? Why is it so bad for dental practices?
Well, the simple fact is that 80% of people hang up on voicemail, and that's been tracked by big companies. Forbes actually was the one that came out with the stat. In our research and recording calls, we found that stat to be completely accurate. So if you think about it, you've got a call comes in, you've missed 5 phone calls, right? That means you've lost 4 of those opportunities. If a dental patient equals $5,000, that's $20,000 lost on 5 phone calls you missed because of voicemail. The reality is people just don't leave messages anymore. In fact, Coca-Cola, JP Morgan have all gotten rid of voicemail in their offices. Now, when it's you and me calling each other, if you don't answer my phone and I get your voicemail, well, I got your cell phone number. I'm going to turn around and send you a text message, say, hey, trying to get in touch with you. Give me a shout back, right? When you're calling a local business and you've spent the time to research the top 3 dentists in your town and you're ready to do business and you're calling through and you get that voicemail, you're not texting that doctor. You don't have a cell phone number and you don't have the time. You're going to call the second person on your list and the third person on your list. In fact, Inside Sales came out and said 35 to 50% of people will choose the business that responds first, right? So it's like, voicemail's causing a hang up, and not only losing that person for that moment, you're losing him forever, because they're going to call the next doctor. Whoever answers the phone is going to get the business 35 to 50% of the time.
That's excellent. In your book, I have your book here. It's Own the Phone.
Who's that guy? Oh, man.
Yeah, it's a pretty cheesy title, but don't judge a book by the cover.
I was in better shape back then on that cover, actually. So I got to start working out again.
You're not even as big as the phone, though, man. Come on.
Exactly.
You got to lift some more weights.
Exactly. People always ask me that, like, where did you get a phone that big? I'm like, wow, it's called, digital technology.
Let's get up with the times here. I think that's the first introduction is if you don't know that this was done by a Photoshop, you're probably still going with old answering machine.
There you go. There you go.
They might not even have an answering machine. Yeah, I mean, you talk about empathy, which is huge in dental marketing because it's been said if people don't care what you know until they know that you care, and I think that's really important in dental marketing. Is how does the dentist show that they care? And one of the ways that you can do that is through a service like your own. I mean, this really doesn't take a whole lot of work on the dentist's part. Tell us a little bit about how it works. So a phone call comes in and then you send them an email or a text message. How does that work?
Yeah, so great question and great point, by the way. And yeah, you show them you care, number one, by actually answering the phone, right? So that's step number one. Step number two is what makes us really unique is that we give you choices of what you want us to say. In fact, you can choose a different script right in our system, and you can even edit what we say on the fly so that it meets your brand and your verbiage that you like to use. And it's all real time from your smartphone. So imagine you want to change the script tonight on your way out the door. You go to your smartphone, you type in what you want us to say, and we'll say it on that next call for you. And then you're getting text messages and emails, so you never miss opportunities because the call's coming in, you know it's being captured. It's going right to your cell phone in a text or an email. And you could literally turn on like, wow, I got to call this prospective patient or my existing patient right now. This is urgent. Or you could say, you know what, I'm eating dinner. I'll call that person back tomorrow, right? So it gives you the opportunity to prioritize. But what's most important is it gets your caller into a revenue flow, meaning you've answered the phone, they've given their name and number, they know someone's going to call them back. They can check the box that says, okay, I've chosen my dentist. I'm going to get a call back. I don't have to call somebody else. I know I'm in the revenue flow here. And that's really what's most important. But the difference between us and, say, traditional answering services is if anyone on this watching this has ever used one, they know you call an answering service, it's like you get a choice of one script. It sounds like a robot. There's really no technology between you and the answering group, right? You don't get text messages. They'll send you a fax or an email. It's very antiquated, again, 1975. So we've really stepped up the technology and the flexibility of how you control what our agents say to give you the customization you're looking for. So yeah, it's been a fun ride. We're 2 years old. We're growing every day. We just keep adding new stuff to it. We are a technology company, so we're super proud about it. And it's been a lot of fun, for sure.
Yeah, that's great. So for those dentists listening who have poured, a lot of money into SEO, a lot of money into direct mail, radio, TV, whatever it might be, if you're spending, say, pulling a number out of the air here, $2,000, $3,000 a month to market your practice, but you're not picking up the phone when those prospective patients are calling, your studies show that like you mentioned, the Forbes and all that 80% of people are hanging up on voicemail.
Right.
So that's kind of like saying 80% of your money is going down the drain.
Yeah. Well, even more than that, right? Because you figure if you're dropping $2,000, you're hoping that you're getting 10,000 back, right? You're hoping you're getting 20,000 if it's really popping. And we're talking lifetime value, not within 30 days, right? We're talking to the life of the patient. And then you've got referrals and all these other things that happen, right? So if you're spending 2,000, you want that to, again, generate into 10,000 to 20,000, whatever that number is. To spend that money and then not spend $200, which is our average spend on our service, to make sure the phone's getting answered, right? Like 10% of that to cover this thing that says, hey, I'm not going to lose the 80% of this, right? So the math is really, it's very straightforward, and it's really, I hate to say no-brainer because people say, well, you're biased. Yeah, I'm biased. I am biased for sure. But people who use our service tell us that, gosh, I had no idea how much business I was losing at 5:30 at night or on a Saturday morning or at lunch hour when I was turning people over to that voicemail box, right? And so, again, to add another $200 on top of your marketing to make sure that $2,000 turns into $10,000 or $20,000, again, the ROI gets pretty massive.
Yeah. And so you can do forwarding to the number if the phone lines are busy, after hours. You know, so it's not just during a set number of hours. It can also be set up with the phone company so that like after 3 rings, it can go to your after hours. So your front office is busy doing something. This can be, wow, I just realized this is probably the easiest sales pitch to a front desk office. And the front office, the job of the front office is
Right.
to shield the dentist from sales pitches half the time.
That's right. That's right.
And,
Yeah.
and
No,
this
and
is
it's so funny. Our biggest proponents are front desk workers who are just tired of like trying to figure out how to scramble to do all these things and make sure the calls are answered and say the right thing. And then, you know, have that smile and then leave the office and then know the next morning they're going to come in and have to deal with whatever happened the night before or during lunch, right? It's like knowing that and we have 500 different agents that take calls, knowing that there's a team of 500 people behind you, not to take your job, just to pick up the slack where you can't get it, whether it's off after hours or during lunch, or as you said, you can route the phone so it rings 3 times to the front desk. If they don't answer, it goes over to us. It's just nice. And then I always say, we're any department you want us to be with our scripts. We're your emergency department. We're your billing department. We're your customer service department. We're your new patient intake department. With our system, you can create as many different scripts as you want. We can play whatever role you want us to play. Also makes your organization look much bigger and allow that kind of first-class customer service that today's caller is really expecting from you.
That's excellent. I mean, so to our listeners, this is a hardball question, not scripted. I'm throwing it at you right here.
Fastball coming at me. What is it? I'm ready. I'm ready.
This is the warning for our listeners. This is as much notification as you've been given, Spencer. This is obviously amazing for new patients. Now, what about for existing patients who call? Right. What do you say to that?
I say it's depending on your budget, right? Because some practices are super successful and they just want a live voice and they don't mind paying. You know, you're paying between $1 and $1.50 a minute, depending on how many minutes you do. You're paying for us to talk to your callers, right? The new patients, it's a no-brainer because if we don't talk to them, you're going to lose them, right? The existing patients, well, it depends on your budget. If some people are really scrambling, trying to make ends meet, and they're saying, you know what, I don't know if I want to deliver the first-class experience at that price for my existing patients, maybe I just focus on the new patients for a while, great. But for other practices, and we have a lot of clients that say, I want you to take every call live. I don't want any of my patients getting voicemail. And for those types of clients, it certainly makes sense.
That's excellent. And so when you say the average is $200 a month, so that's about 150, 200 minutes per month.
Yeah, exactly. And if you do the math on it, it generally comes out. And again, it's nights and weekends. You know, you're talking, 60, 70 calls a month. It's a few calls a night. It's weekends. So typically our clients use us nights and weekends and lunch hour. We do have clients that spend, 500 or more on our service. But again, those guys are doing a lot more marketing and they're sending a lot more calls our way. So, I say 200, that's just the average. We have some clients that spend $60. And when we take 5-10 calls a month for them, we're just, we're kind of an emergency service when they need it. So it just really depends. But on the average, it's 200. If you're a busy practice, I would say maybe you get into the 300, 400 or 500 range. But again, if you're a busy practice and you're doing that much marketing, you're probably spending $2,000 to $4,000, maybe $5,000 a month on advertising. It becomes 10% of that, and well worth the cost to make sure you're capitalizing on that marketing. Excellent,
great. And so, where can we find you? And just tell our listeners basically. I'm sold on it. I'm trying it with a couple clients of mine here pretty soon, and just tell us where we can find you and. Let's go.
Yeah. I mean, listen, go to our site. It's yestrak.com, yestrak.com. Go there and you can sign up an account. It takes 2 minutes to get started. You're up and running quickly with us. Or call us 1-800-620-5877. Again, that number 1-800-620-5877. For you radio advertisers, you got to say it a couple times. Anyway, so those are the phone numbers. We also got $50 free for you. Just tell us Justin sent you. And you saw us on the Hangout here or the video, and we'll throw $50 free at you. There's no contract. In fact, I'm so proud about this that I tell every client, if you don't like our service, we created a little button in the billing area. You click a button and your account is disconnected. I get so frustrated with services like, no contract, $50 free. And then you go to call them and it's like 30 minutes on hold and you got to be transferred 5 times and they try to repitch you 100 times, right? You don't like us, you click a button. In fact, we'll even save your scripts in the system. So, because some businesses are seasonal. We might answer your phones for a month while you got some staff members out, right? So we'll literally save your scripts for when you come back to us. So it's super easy to use our service.
That's amazing. And I just realized, you know, yeah, so if a front office goes on maternity leave and this practice, I had this happen with a client where it was like their numbers were down. They're like, our numbers are down.
Right, right.
Well,
right.
the front office was on maternity leave. Like, yeah, that makes sense because you're probably getting calls and not answering them. So this might help with that.
100%. 100%. A lot of our clients are people that they're changing over some staff members. They're short staffed for a little bit. Again, that's why I said earlier, we are 500 people sitting by a phone waiting to do whatever you want us to do with a click of a button. You know, it's phone answering on demand, which you know and I know in today's technology world, it's all about being able to set something up quick and tear it down quick and have the flexibility from your smartphone. And that's what this is, exactly what this is.
Excellent. Well, to our listeners, I hope you've learned something. Obviously, you didn't learn anything about how important it is to get new patients, but hopefully you learned something about getting those new patients. A couple episodes ago, we talked with Dr. Christopher Phelps, Practice on Fire speaker, voted best speaker at that event last year. He's speaking again this year. And we talked all about Call Tracker ROI and his service about he said many dentists, if you watch that episode, he tells us how many dentists feel like, well, I don't feel like I'm missing any calls. And he takes the Pepsi challenge with them. What happens every time is they find out there's a lot of calls that they're missing. And, you know, I think a service like this goes really well with that service. So
yeah, I agree. You know, you and I have had this talk before, and that's what I love about you is that you get that, you know, like once you start your marketing, the first thing you got to do is kind of look internally and see what your processes are, because layering on all those dollars on processes that are broke is like building a house on a bad foundation, right? So we got to get the foundation tight, which is, what is your staff saying when the phone rings? Who's answering the phone when your staff doesn't answer the phone? And what are you doing with your follow-up sequences and to get people in the door and the reminders and all that kind of stuff? Because layering on lots of marketing when the house isn't built on a solid foundation is going to deliver a lot of cracks, right? However, when the foundation is super solid, the flow of each inpatient is working the way you want it to, then you can start stacking up the marketing. You can really see it get exponential with dental marketing guy, because you know you can handle it when the flow happens and you're not going to miss stuff, right? So really key piece, and I'm glad that you brought that up with the tracker, because again, most people don't realize the foundation's not, you know, on solid ground until the cracks start happening, unfortunately, right?
Right. Yeah, and so for those of you dentists who come to me, hit me up about SEO, you know, this is something that I recommend because we need to know if all your calls from SEO are, say, emergency cases at 2 a.m. or whatever, you might not want to take those calls. And if you don't get those calls yourself, this is the kind of service that can help you. And so even if they're not coming at 2 a.m., if they're coming at during the lunch hour, if they're coming at 5:02 p.m., you know, you just never can control when these people who are Googling your services are going to call you. So yeah, I'm definitely on board with this. I think it's going to help with ROI, specifically with SEO, especially because it can be a little bit trickier to track SEO compared to like AdWords and direct mail and things like that, where you can use a tracking number. So I really like this. So thank you very much. The guest of honor, Spencer Peller.
My pleasure.
His book, Own the Phone.
And the big phone.
Is not that big. The phone
you
is
cannot
not
own that big phone, by the way. You can own a smaller phone is what you can. But hey, Justin, it was great. Thanks for having me on your show. Always love chatting with you. If the audience members want to get in touch, call me at the YesTrack number or go to the YesTrack site. Happy to talk phones with anyone who wants to talk phones.
Cool. All right, thanks to our listeners. And if you have any questions, hit us up in the comments below on YouTube, on Dental Town, wherever you find this. And I'm the Dental Marketing Guy. Thanks for watching the Dental Marketing Guy Show.
Take care.